The extraordinary life of one of the most notorious cartel leaders in history, El Chapo. From his vast drug empire to his multiple arrests, we uncover the dark and dangerous world he ruled. Witness his rise from humble beginnings to becoming the most wanted man and his audacious escapes from maximum security prisons. Finally, step inside his fortress-like cell where isolation and constant surveillance become the norm. Can you fathom enduring the chilling reality of his prison? Brace yourself as we explore the captivating story of El Chapo and the secrets that defined his reign of terror. Joaquin Archibaldo Guzman Loera, also known as El Chapo, is a notorious figure in Mexican criminal history. Born on April 4, 1957, he rose to prominence as a leader within the Sinaloa cartel, which is recognized as a significant international crime syndicate involved in drug trafficking. Guzman Loera's notoriety stems from his reputation as one of the most influential and powerful drug lords in the world. Throughout his criminal career, Guzman Loera became known for his cunning tactics, organizational skills, and ability to evade capture. His strategic operations allowed him to establish a vast network of drug production, transportation, and distribution spanning multiple countries. This illicit empire made him an extremely wealthy individual, estimated to have a net worth in the billions. Guzman's upbringing was marked by poverty and difficult circumstances in Sinaloa, Mexico. Growing up in a humble farming family, he faced physical abuse from his father. It was during his early adulthood that he became involved in the drug trade, initially assisting his father in cultivating marijuana for local drug dealers. By the late 1970s, Guzman started working alongside Hector Luis Palma Salazar, who was rapidly gaining influence as a prominent drug lord in Mexico. During this time, Guzman's knowledge of the region proved valuable as he helped Salazar establish routes for drug transportation through Sinaloa and into the United States. Subsequently, Guzman became involved with Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo, one of the foremost kingpins in Mexico during the mid-1980s. Guzman took on the responsibility of overseeing logistical operations for Gallardo, facilitating the movement of illicit substances. However, following Gallardo's arrest, Guzman decided to establish his own cartel in 1988, marking the birth of his independent criminal organization. By founding his own cartel, Guzman aimed to expand his influence and consolidate power within the drug trade. This move allowed him to operate autonomously and pursue his criminal enterprises on a larger scale. As his cartel grew, Guzman's reputation as a shrewd and formidable drug lord began to solidify. Guzman's criminal operations involved the production, smuggling, and distribution of various illicit drugs, including cocaine, methamphetamine, marijuana, and heroin. These drugs were targeted for markets in the United States and Europe, which are known as the world's largest consumers of narcotics. Guzman implemented innovative strategies to facilitate the transportation and delivery of drugs. He pioneered the use of distribution cells, which allowed for efficient and decentralized operations. Additionally, he employed the construction of long-range tunnels near borders, enabling him to smuggle a significant quantity of drugs into the United States. It's worth noting that his use of these tunnels contributed to his reputation as one of the most prolific drug traffickers in history. Through his leadership in the cartel, Guzman amassed substantial wealth and wielded immense power. In fact, Forbes recognized him as one of the most influential individuals globally, ranking him among the world's most powerful people from 2009 to 2013. The Drug Enforcement Administration, or DEA, also estimated that Guzman's influence and wealth were comparable to that of Pablo Escobar, a notorious Colombian drug lord. The cartel, under Guzman's leadership, orchestrated the smuggling of large-scale cocaine shipments from Colombia to the United States via Mexico, utilizing various transportation modes such as air, sea, and road. In addition to cocaine, the organization was involved in the production, smuggling, and distribution of Mexican methamphetamine, marijuana, and heroin sourced from Southeast Asia. Following the arrest of Hector Luis Palma Salazar by the Mexican army on June 23, 1995, Guzman assumed control of the cartel. Palma, subsequently extradited to the United States, is currently serving a prison sentence on charges related to drug trafficking and conspiracy. In 2013, the Chicago Crime Commission designated Guzman as public enemy number 1 for the significant impact of his criminal network in Chicago, although there is no evidence to suggest that Guzman himself has ever visited the city. The last individual to receive such notoriety in Chicago was Al Capone in 1930. In 1999, Guzman recognized the growing demand for coordinated methamphetamine shipments in Mexico due to his previous involvement in drug trafficking. This presented him with an opportunity to expand his operations and take on a leadership role. Taking advantage of his established connections on Mexico's Pacific coast, Guzman, along with Ismael Zambada Garcia, also known as El Mayo, swiftly arranged for precursor shipments to facilitate the production of methamphetamine. As his criminal enterprise grew, Guzman strategically appointed his trusted friend, Ignacio Coronel Villarreal, to oversee the production of methamphetamine. This decision ensured that Guzman retained his position as the ultimate authority, the boss of bosses. Coronel Villarreal's reliability and competence in managing the methamphetamine production earned him the nickname Crystal King, highlighting his significant role within the Guzman organization. Guzman's initial arrest took place in 1993 in Guatemala. Subsequently, he was extradited to Mexico, where he faced charges related to murder and drug trafficking. Guzman was convicted and sentenced to 20 years in prison for these crimes. While serving his prison sentence in Mexico, Guzman faced additional legal troubles when he was indicted in San Diego, United States. The charges against him included money laundering and importing large quantities of cocaine into California. Guzman's Sinaloa attorney, Humberto Loyo Castro, also known as Licenciado Perez or Lawyer Perez, was charged with bribing Mexican officials on behalf of the Sinaloa cartel and ensuring the release of arrested cartel members. During Guzman's time in prison, a ruling by the Supreme Court of Mexico facilitated extradition between Mexico and the United States. Exploiting this opportunity, Guzman allegedly bribed prison guards to assist in his escape. On January 19, 2001, Francisco El Chito Camberos Rivera, a prison guard, opened Guzman's electronically operated cell door. Guzman then concealed himself in a laundry cart pushed by maintenance worker Javier Camberos, who navigated through several doors until reaching the prison's front exit. Guzman was subsequently transported in the trunk of a car driven by Camberos, leaving the town. During his escape, Camberos left Guzman unattended momentarily at a petrol station. When Camberos returned, Guzman had disappeared on foot into the night. The authorities have reported that a total of 78 individuals were implicated in the elaborate escape plan. Camberos, for his involvement in the escape, was later imprisoned. Despite successfully evading capture for extended periods in remote regions of the Sierra Madre Mountains, information provided by apprehended members of Guzman's security team revealed that he'd started venturing out to Culiacan and the coastal town of Mazatlan. Approximately 1 week before his capture, reports emerged suggesting that Guzman and Zambada had attended a family reunion in Sinaloa. Acting on the tips provided by the bodyguards, the Mexican military targeted Guzman's former wife's residence on February 16, 2014. However, they faced difficulties when attempting to breach the heavily reinforced front door. This delay provided Guzman with an opportunity to escape through a network of secret tunnels connecting 6 houses, ultimately making his way south to Mazatlan. Guzman's plan was to spend a few days in Mazatlan to visit his twin baby daughters before seeking refuge in the mountains once again. On February 22, 2014, at approximately 6:40 a.m., Mexican authorities successfully apprehended Guzman at a hotel located in a beachfront area of Mazatlan. The arrest operation was carried out by the Mexican Navy with collaborative intelligence efforts from the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration and the U.S. Marshals Service. After his arrest, Guzman was publicly presented during a press conference at Mexico City International Airport. Later that day, he was flown by a Federal Police Black Hawk helicopter, accompanied by 2 Navy helicopters and 1 from the Mexican Air Force, to the Maximum Security Federal Social Readaptation Center No. 1 in Almoloya de Juarez, State of Mexico. Stringent security measures were implemented at the prison and its surroundings, with heightened surveillance by a substantial law enforcement presence. On July 11, 2015, Guzman managed to escape from the Federal Social Readaptation Center No. 1. The last sighting of him on security cameras was near the shower area in his cell at 20:52 hours. Guards realized he was missing after not seeing him for about 25 minutes. It was discovered that Guzman had escaped through a sophisticated tunnel that connected the shower area to a house construction site approximately 1.5 kilometers or 0.93 miles away in the Santa Juanita neighborhood. The tunnel was well constructed, measuring 10 meters or 33 feet deep, 1.7 meters or 5 foot 7 inches tall, and 75 centimeters or 30 inches wide, equipped with lighting, air ducts, and high-quality materials. Authorities also found a motorcycle in the tunnel which was believed to have been used for transportation during the escape. Based on information provided by concerned citizens, a house in Los Mochis, a coastal city in northern Sinaloa, came under surveillance by Mexican authorities for about a month. The intercepted communications indicated that the residence was being prepared for the arrival of an individual referred to as Grandma or Aunt, which was believed to be a code name for a high-priority target. On the night of January 8, 2016, after the occupants of the house placed a substantial order for tacos and picked it up in a white van past midnight, a raid was conducted in the early hours as part of Operation Black Swan. The operation involved 17 Marines from the Mexican Navy Special Forces, supported by the Mexican Army and the Federal Police. However, despite the operation, Guzman and one of his lieutenants managed to escape through a concealed tunnel. They emerged approximately 1.5 kilometers away from the house and commandeered a vehicle at gunpoint. Following the interception of the stolen vehicle, which Guzman had commandeered at gunpoint, a confrontation took place between Guzman and the federal police officers. Guzman attempted to bribe the officers with cash, properties, and job offers, but they refused his offers. In response, Guzman threatened them, saying, "You're all going to die." Sensing the imminent danger, the officers sent pictures of Guzman to their superiors, who received information that 40 assassins were en route to free Guzman. To prevent a counterattack by cartel members, the police were instructed to take Guzman and the other prisoners to a motel on the outskirts of town while waiting for reinforcements. Eventually, the prisoners were handed over to the Marines for safekeeping. From there, they were transported to Los Mochis Airport and flown by a Navy helicopter to the same maximum security prison from which Guzman had escaped in July 2015. During the raid, 5 gunmen were killed, 6 others were arrested, and 1 Marine was wounded. The Mexican Navy discovered 2 armored cars, 8 assault rifles including Barrett M82 sniper rifles, 2 M16 rifles with grenade launchers, and a loaded rocket-propelled grenade launcher. Following Guzman's recapture on January 8, 2016, Mexico initiated a renewed process of extradition to the United States. The formal extradition proceedings began 2 days later, aiming to transfer Guzman to face charges in the United States. However, Guzman's legal team employed various legal strategies and filed multiple injunctions to prevent his extradition. In a tragic turn of events, Vicente Antonio Bermudez Zacarias, a federal judge involved in Guzman's extradition proceedings, was assassinated on October 17, 2016, while jogging near Mexico City. The motive behind the judge's assassination remains a matter of investigation. Guzman faced multiple charges and indictments in various cities across the United States, including Chicago, San Diego, New York City, New Hampshire, Miami, and Texas. The charges against him included drug trafficking with intent to distribute, conspiracy association, organized crime against health, money laundering, homicide, illegal possession of firearms, kidnapping, and murder in several cities. The extradition process required the United States to provide assurances that Guzman would not face the death penalty if found guilty of homicide charges. On January 19, 2017, Guzman was extradited to the United States and placed under the custody of HSI and DEA agents. He was held in the maximum security wing of the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan, New York. Guzman pleaded not guilty to a 17-count indictment in the United States District Court, and his trial was scheduled for November 5, 2018. Due to concerns about his history of violence, juror anonymity and security measures were implemented. The trial began on November 13, 2018, with closing arguments concluding on January 31, 2019. On February 12, 2019, Guzman was found guilty on all counts, and on July 17, 2019, he was sentenced to life in prison plus 30 years and ordered to forfeit over $12.6 billion. He is currently incarcerated at ADX Florence, a highly secure supermax prison under the Federal Register number 89914-053. Inside El Chapo Guzman's cell. After his conviction, Guzman was imprisoned in the United States Penitentiary Administrative Maximum Facility, or USP Florence ADMAX, also known as the Alcatraz of the Rockies. This supermax prison is located in Florence, Colorado, approximately 90 miles south of Denver. It houses inmates in specialized control units, which are essentially prisons within the prison. The facility has a total capacity of 490 beds and is designed to hold the most dangerous and high-profile criminals. In USP Florence ADMAX, Guzman is subject to strict security measures and confinement. Having escaped Mexican jails on 2 occasions, El Chapo may face a formidable challenge if he attempts a similar feat at ADX Florence. Known as America's most secure prison, no inmate has ever successfully escaped from its confines. Within the walls of ADX Florence, El Chapo will be confined to a control unit specially designed to isolate him from nearly all human contact. Surrounding his cell are individuals convicted of serious offenses, including bombers, hate preachers, and domestic terrorists. This environment ensures that El Chapo will spend the rest of his life in an environment devoid of interaction with the outside world. According to Martin Horn, a professor of corrections at City University of New York's John Jay College of Criminal Justice, there is a strong possibility that El Chapo would be transferred to ADX Florence considering his history of escapes and his ability to corrupt prison staff in Mexico. Given the heightened security measures and the institution's reputation as the most secure prison in the United States, ADX Florence would be the logical choice to ensure El Chapo's containment. The transfer to ADX Florence would provide an additional layer of security and make it significantly more challenging for him to repeat his past escape attempts. ADX Florence, commonly referred to as Supermax, is a highly secure maximum security prison established in 1994. The facility houses 402 male inmates within specialized control units, which essentially operate as prisons within prisons. In these units, inmates are subjected to extreme isolation, spending up to 23 hours a day confined to their single-person cells. Escape from this facility is considered highly improbable due to the stringent security measures in place. To prevent any external influence or threats, strict restrictions are enforced to ensure that the most hardened inmates have no means of exerting control beyond the confines of their individual units. This level of isolation and security makes ADX Florence one of the most impenetrable prisons in the United States. According to Martin Horn, a professor of corrections at John Jay College of Criminal Justice, inmates at USP Florence have extremely limited contact with other prisoners as their movements are strictly controlled. They have access to various meal options including regular, no meat, no pork, low-fat, low-sodium, and religious diets if approved by the chaplain. In terms of medical attention, inmates are typically responsible for a $2 copay. While good behavior can earn them up to 54 days off their sentence annually, the federal correctional system does not offer parole. Incoming and outgoing mail is inspected by guards, and upon arrival, prisoners receive a set of clothing and basic personal items. El Chapo is currently housed in ADMAX, where he joins the ranks of some of the most notorious names in the annals of U.S. criminal justice. This includes Boston Marathon bomber Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, 9/11 conspirator Zacarias Moussaoui, FBI turncoat Robert Hansen, shoe bomber Richard Reed, underwear bomber Abdul Farik Abdulmutallab, domestic terrorist Ted Kaczynski, also known as the Unabomber, and Oklahoma City bomber Timothy McVeigh. Well, that's all for today's video. If you found this video informative, please consider liking and subscribing to our YouTube channel for more thought-provoking content. Don't forget to leave your comments and suggestions down below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.